Hi friends, welcome back to the channel where we focus less on trying and more on being the best version of ourselves. Today's video is very long awaited and long overdue, so my apologies for that. But this video is so important and there's so much information that I want to include that I didn't want to forget anything. I really wanted to make sure that I covered this topic extensively because I get questions about it all the time, and I talk about it in other videos in relation to manifesting a whole bunch of different things because it literally is ingrained in everything you do. It's a huge thing. It's literally you. We're talking about self-concept. I don't know why I didn't say that. But it literally is a huge thing. It's in everything you do, but also it really is so simple to understand, but it's sometimes hard to get over the hump when a lot of people put so much focus on it and kind of make it out to be something way more complicated than it has to be. And in another sense, it's also something that's so overlooked. It's something that people just want to bypass because you just want to get what you want. And that's absolutely what we all should be doing, getting everything that we want easily, effortlessly. You should always feel like whatever you want is available to you. But skipping something as fundamental as self-concept and just trying to get straight to the good part can really come back to bite you in the ass. I want you to understand this on a level that makes you feel like, one, that you're totally capable of making the change if you need to, and two, understanding that this doesn't have to be some huge undertaking. I say it all the time because I want to really hammer this home that the focus of manifestation is never to work yourself into the ground. It's never to feel like you're constantly battling with this old version of yourself or with this process or with your desires. It should be just you enjoying your life and getting what you want, because manifestation is life. It's in everything we do. It's everything we see. It's literally everything there is. This is all our manifested reality from the standpoint of being the observer. So before I get too in-depth and get too complicated, I want to reel it back a little bit and talk about what self-concept is, kind of my journey with self-concept and what I've come to understand it to be, and how you can easily integrate this into the way you live, into what you do, so that when you manifest things, you don't have to worry about anything else other than you getting your manifestation and you enjoying it and thinking about whatever it is that you want next. I want to start off by saying that I know self-concept is such a buzzword. Everybody's talking about self-concept, 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 self-concept. I'm not going to say I'm guilty of it because there's nothing to be guilty about. It's important and it should be talked about. But I think, like I said, the way that it's spoken about sometimes leads to a lot of misconceptions and makes it a lot more complicated than it really has to be. Especially if you are familiar with Neville, you know that your concept of self literally creates your entire reality. That's where we get things like everyone is you pushed out. All your self-concept is your identity, your personality, which we talk about all the time. If you're familiar with Joe Dispenza as well, his catchphrase is literally your personality creates your personal reality. So you have to understand that everything that you experience comes through you. If you have blinders up, or if you're seeing the world through a lens or through the viewpoint of having a negative self-concept, everything you experience is going to be colored by that. So I also want to make it clear that not everybody has a horrible self-concept. This is not like me telling you that you've been bad or you need to work on yourself or you're not good enough to get what you want until you fix your self-concept or until you change. That's not at all what I'm saying. Just understand that, one, I'm speaking to a large variety of people who've had different experiences, different upbringings, different mindsets, different ways of thinking. And especially in this space, a lot of people come wanting something or needing something or feeling like they're lacking something. They have a desire or they have a need that they want fulfilled. If you are in a place where you've been trying to manifest things, you've been trying to call things in, and it seems like you're constantly self-sabotaging, or it always feels like things are too good to be true, or you can't hold space for the things that you want in your life, very likely the root of that issue is your self-concept, your identity, who you see yourself as, because like I said, it affects everything and everyone around you, everything that you experience. My first kind of introduction to self-concept was literally the very first self-help book I ever read. I was probably 16 or 17, and I read Cybernetics by Maxwell Maltz. That book changed my life. And in that book, he calls it self-image. These are all just different terms and phrases for the same thing. Sometimes we get really caught up in the lingo and arguing semantics about what things mean, but it's the same thing: self-concept, self-image, personality, identity, who you are. So I read that book. It changed my life because I started to understand that the way that I was thinking about myself, I was programming myself to filter my reality through that lens. I was seeing everything that I experienced through what I was capable of perceiving, because I was determining what I was capable of, what I was deserving of, what I got to experience, and basing all of that on past experiences, things that have happened to me, things that people have told me, other people telling me who I am, what I'm capable of, past failures, or things that I felt like I wasn't good enough to do in the past. So when you only see yourself from the lens of what you were capable of before, or what other people around you have been able to do, or what other people have told you you are or you are capable of, that all affects your self-image or your self-concept, because you program that into your brain. Your brain takes that information as being important, and it shows you more of what you tell it is true about you. I also love this book because it's so interesting to hear this perspective coming from somebody who was a plastic surgeon, because he would tell a lot of stories about people who would come in with an ailment or something they wanted to change about themselves physically that was affecting them mentally. And it was so interesting the way that people would come in to fix something about themselves or to change something about themselves, and after the surgery was done, they would still feel like that ailment was still there. They would still feel like they're lacking in some capacity, or even that nothing had changed at all, like he didn't even do the surgery to begin with. So you start to see all these weird juxtapositions, especially when you see trends and things like that, like people putting their worth on their body looking a certain way at a certain time because that's the ideal, that's the standard. And then a decade later, the complete opposite is the standard, and people are like running to change themselves to look in this way in order to feel accepted by society, their peers, or even to accept themselves. He also talked about how, say for something like scars, people would come into the plastic surgeon's office to get scars removed, thinking that it was something that made them lesser or something that made them ugly, something that they just didn't want because it was affecting their confidence, their self-image. But in some cultures, having scars is a mark of pride or coming of age, or it's a symbol of your rank. It's so interesting to see through different people's mindsets how the same thing could have completely different meanings. And that also has to do with the value and the importance that you place on things like that. Not only how you look physically, but how you feel about yourself internally. So after doing all this work and seeing all these people, he started to realize that these people coming to him in order to fix something about themselves that was never really a problem to begin with, didn't have a physical ailment. It was a mental ailment, right? You're never gonna be satisfied externally if you're not satisfied internally, if you can't accept yourself, and if you don't recognize yourself for who you are. And he says repeatedly that we are all God's children, which, if you think about it in a spiritual sense, we are all of the Creator. God lives within all of us. We are all source energy, and we are all made up of the same thing. We are all inherently valuable and perfect exactly how we are when we're born. We're whole and complete exactly as we are. So anything that we place on top of that is a condition that either we put on ourselves, we got from society, or our environment. We were conditioned to be that way. It's very important to understand that when you're constantly criticizing yourself, when you're constantly looking for issues or nitpicking at yourself or feeling as if you're never satisfied, no matter what you get, no matter what you achieve, no matter what you acquire, that is something that can never be fulfilled externally. That's why when we talk about getting into the feeling state, the feeling of the wish fulfilled, it's so important because when you attain whatever it is that you desire, when you get your manifestation, that feeling remains. However you felt before is how you're gonna feel after. Even if you get something that you really, really wanted and you think that it's really, really important to you, after the novelty of that wears off, you're still left with you for your whole life. You're gonna be stuck with you. So this is the important point that I wanted to get to. Self-concept is not just a prerequisite to manifestation. It's just a prerequisite to life. Everybody comes into being and attains a personality, right? It gets built in those critical developmental stages between 0 to 6 or 0 to 7. And that's when you're taking in all that information. That's when you're learning your world and your environment. And that's when you're building your personality. You're learning who you are. So if you've been conditioned to be a person who thinks they're not worthy, who thinks they're not valuable, who thinks they're never enough, nothing outside of you can change that other than an internal recognition that it's not true, that you are enough, that you are inherently valuable just because you are. Literally just because you exist, just because you're being. So that's the basis of self-concept. Just knowing that no matter what happens, no matter what you see, no matter what you've experienced in the past, you are deserving, you are more than enough, you are whole, complete, and valuable exactly as you are. And no matter how you will change in the future or who you were before, you are always enough. And you are enough now to have whatever it is you want. There doesn't have to be a prerequisite for you to get your desire. You don't have to do this amount of inner work, or you don't have to heal this much in order to deserve to get what you want, in order to deserve to live a good experience, to be fulfilled and to be happy and to be joyful in your experience. That is the prerequisite. That's why there's literally monks meditating on mountains, or people who are homeless, who are some of the happiest people that you will meet, but they have nothing. They have nothing to call their own, but they are so fulfilled internally because their self-image or their self-concept is immaculate. They understand that it doesn't matter what they have physically. It doesn't matter what this vessel says about them to society or what other people perceive them to be, because they know internally who they are, and they're the only person who gets to quantify what that value is. So this is the prerequisite. If you don't understand this before you start manifesting, that's when issues start to arise. So no, not everybody needs to go on a long, drawn-out self-concept journey. Some people understand that. Some people have been spoiled and loved on and told that they were valuable and lovely and smart and could do anything they want and were capable of so much, and that they literally hung the moon from the moment they were born. Some people grew up in that loving, nurturing environment and have just always had a good self-concept. So they're not gonna run into the same kind of roadblocks as somebody who was told that they weren't valuable, that they weren't enough, that they were never going to amount to anything, or somebody that was bullied, somebody that was constantly told that because of the way they look, that they're going to have a certain experience in life, and they always felt trapped in that identity. So in order to live a different experience, you have to begin to change that concept of yourself. You have to change your identity. You have to change who you are. But when I say change, I don't mean that you need to become anything different. Hear what I'm saying. You are already all that you need to be. You always have been. And there's nothing that you can add or take away from you that is going to make you any more than what you are, basically, which is pure conscious awareness, pure being. And that is the only prerequisite to existence and having anything you want, because all it takes is awareness. And I know that that sounds a little woo-woo, whatever, but that is what it is. It's consciousness. You are awake, you're aware, you're perceiving the world around you. So if you can do that, if you can observe your reality, if you are cognizant, if you're conscious, you can create the reality of your dreams. It only takes you to understand that you're capable of doing that, that there's nothing stopping you from doing that other than what you think is possible for you. So that is the fundamental shift in mindset that needs to be had before you can just go frolicking in the fields and let your desires rain down on you. Because once you come to this understanding, they will. Because you'll understand that, like, if I say that I want something, of course I can have it, because I get to have everything I want, because I'm more than capable of having anything that I desire. This is it. I'm me. And nobody outside of me can tell me what I'm capable of, what I can do, what I should look like, what I should talk like, how I should present myself, how I should be, other than me. And I get to say that whatever that is at this moment is enough. I get to say what the best version of myself is for me, and in my experience, that's all that's needed. So, coming to that realization is so important. It's fundamental. And so, back to my point, self-concept is not a prerequisite for manifestation. I'm not saying you can't get your desires until you work on your self-concept. Your self-concept is your life. It's who you are. So in order to live a fulfilled, valuable life and valuable to you, where you feel like your needs are being met, where you feel taken care of, where you feel like you can rest, where you're at ease, where you feel like no matter what is happening externally in the 3D, no matter what the circumstances are, you know who you are. You know that you're good, and you know that whatever's happening, you have the capability to change it, and you will. That no situation is permanent, that no circumstance gets to dictate who you are. Only you get to decide. That is the fundamental shift. Taking ownership of your identity and the only thing that you actually can control, which is your concept of yourself, is the most important thing because it reflects everything else. It is the only thing that creates in your reality, your concept of yourself, because your concept of yourself affects your relationships, what you think about money, what you think about your family, what you think about the things that you can attain, what you think about your career, what you think about how smart you are, how beautiful you are, all of these things, literally everything. So I don't want people to get confused and think about, okay, well, you have your self-concept about yourself, but after you change your self-concept about yourself, you have to change it in relationship to money, and in relationship to your friends, in relationship to your SP, in relationship to your job, whatever it is. Yes, but I like to just say you need to change the story. You need to change the story of you in relationship to whatever it is. But your self-concept is just you. It's just your identity. It's who you are fundamentally. And once that is solid, once you have a definite knowing of who you are, which is just pure conscious awareness, fully, whole, and complete, exactly the way you are. Whatever conditions you want to add on top of that, bueno, perfect, love it. And it will reflect to you in your reality beautifully, because you understand that these internal shifts are what shifts everything externally. That is, everyone is you pushed out. And it really is that way, because even if you say, oh, this person did this to me and made me feel this way, or I would never be so horrible to somebody else, how can this be a reflection of me? Just because someone is reflecting a negative story to you in your reality doesn't mean that you are negative, or that you are hateful, or that you hurt people. It might just mean that you've been hurting yourself, that you've been thinking not so nice things about yourself. And that person is coming up in your reality as a reflection to you to show you that something internally needs to change, that you need to have different boundaries and different criterias about what you're going to accept, about what you allow to happen to you in your space, in your life. So sometimes it's not this person is a direct reflection of you, meaning this person is exactly who you are. Whatever this person does is something that you've done. It's not what that means, but your reality manipulates itself in a way to show you things that need to be revealed. That's what's so nice about understanding how to work with your subconscious externally, because everything you see is just visual feedback of things that are already happening internally. So if you can recognize that something's reflecting to you in your reality, even if it's just what you think about yourself, or something triggers a thought within you about yourself, you know, okay, that's a story that I have about myself. This is not necessarily true, but maybe I've been led to believe this because of past experiences, because of what somebody else told me, or because of what I've seen be possible for other people in my reality. But does that mean that there's not a different experience out there for me? No. Does that mean that my life can't change right now? No. Does that mean that I can't start telling a different story right now and have a different experience? No. None of that stuff is true. Literally, you are the only person who gets to decide that. So that is why self-concept is of the utmost importance. If you don't understand that your identity creates, that your personality creates your personal reality, then you don't understand the importance of self-concept. If all of these things are good within you, then that's great. And you're probably at a level to where if something negative does reflect you in your reality, you understand that things aren't happening to you. In some way, shape, or form, I've created this experience to show myself something, so I can learn something about myself, so I can change something that's no longer serving me within. So you go within, you make the internal shift in your personality, in your self-concept, and then you see the new story reflect, and you stick to that. It's not, oh, I saw a circumstance in my reality that made me unsure of myself. It's, no, I am sure of myself. I'm going to maintain this vision of myself until it is reflected and beyond, because this is who I am, and this is what I always experience. This is what has always been true for me. Even if I didn't know it at the time, I've always been capable of this. I'm capable of even more. And whenever something comes into my reality, I know that I put this here, that this is here for me, happening for me, not to me, but through me, okay? Everything. So yes, everyone is you pushed out. Everything is you pushed out. That is the quantum nature of reality. That is the observer effect. So I also want to touch base back with psycho-cybernetics about the automatic success mechanism. Your brain calibrates in a way to help you navigate through this experience the most natural to you, that is true to who you think you are in your experience. For example, if I have a story that I'm broke, I could literally be walking down the street and there be a wad of $100 bills sitting on the side of the road, and I would not notice it because I would be so focused on my story of I'm broke, money never comes to me, I've always struggled, I will always struggle, I'm always going to be poor, this never happens for me, it happens to everybody else but not for me. So even if opportunities were to arise and come in, you would self-sabotage or push those out because you wouldn't feel worthy of holding that experience, because you don't have a self-concept of being a person who is allowed to experience something like that. You don't think that you're worthy of having a good experience, of feeling fulfilled, of feeling safe in your reality in order to enjoy whatever your world is trying to bring to you or whatever you're trying to manifest. So if you're manifesting something but you're fighting with a self-concept or a story in relation to your self-concept that is opposite, you're just fighting with yourself. You're just wasting energy because you're simultaneously desiring for something, trying to grab something, or trying to force and control something into your reality that the second it comes in, you just push it right back out. So this is not fun. This is a waste of time. This is a waste of energy, and nobody wants to do that. So it is beyond me why anyone would ever want to go through life, consciously manifesting or not, feeling like they're a person who is incapable of having the things that they want, who is less than, who is putting everyone else on a pedestal, or feeling like they're being deprived from living a worthwhile experience, because it's just not true. If you are alive, if you are breathing, if you are conscious, that's all it takes. That's all it takes for you to start to change your mindset, your experience, your identity, and it will reflect everything else. But that is a big hump to get over if you've had years and years and years of past experiences telling you the opposite. So what do you need to do? You need to start showing yourself evidence of the new story. You need to start programming your mind to start focusing on the new story. You need to start directing your attention to a new story. So even if it feels like a lie in the beginning, even if you feel like it's not true or you're not capable of it, not only can you just start telling yourself that new story anyway, regardless of whether or not you believe it, because the repetition will start to make changes in your reality and you latch onto those changes and you amplify them. But you start to look for it in different places. You start to read books about people who are having the experience you want to have. You start to listen to other people's stories. You start to ask questions. You start on the search for this information. You make yourself available and open to having a new experience, because that's the number one thing. If you're calling something in, but you're subconsciously blocking yourself off from it because you have a self-concept that says you're not worthy of it, there's no point. There's just absolutely no point. And that's why people tend to get so frustrated, because they don't understand something as simple as you have to be good internally. Even only so far as no matter what the situation is, I'm capable of changing this. Even if I feel like right now, even if I've had a experience my entire life, today can be the day that things change. If you can't get over that hump, what are you doing? Like, why? Why subject yourself to that? Why be miserable your entire life? And further than that, why blame other people for your own misery? Now, is that to say that people haven't had horrible traumatic experiences where people have done them dirty? Like, just unequivocally, just horrible experiences that would lead people obviously to having such a bad self-concept? No. I would never victim blame or victim shame somebody into trying to say that, well, you created this experience, so now you just need to deal with it, just move on, create a new version of yourself and go live your life. Come on, like, you know that's not what I'm trying to say. What I'm saying is that should be acknowledged. Yes, you went through something, of course. Do whatever work you need to do in order to heal from that situation, in order to feel like you can put that to rest, and in order to feel like, okay, that was a chapter of this book in the story of my life. I can close that chapter now and start to write a new story. Doesn't matter what happened in the past, now something different is on the horizon. Okay? Now, back to my point. I'm sorry, I'm all over the place, but like I said, I wanted to write so many notes, but then there was just so much that I was just like, listen, I'm just gonna talk, because whatever comes out needs to come out, and I know that the message will come across in the way that it needs to. Anyway, back to my point about the automatic success mechanism. Your brain is going to put more focus and attention on the things that you think are important, on the things that you think are true, and on your core beliefs and values. So it's your brain's job, your reticular activating system, your subconscious mind, its job is to steer you in the direction of who you are, to have an experience that logically makes sense to you. If you take these systems that are working for you and you are focusing on your failures, on things that happened in the past, on when things didn't go right for you, and you're putting your attention there and thinking that because this happened before, the possibility of it happening again is very likely, or I only know this experience, so this is going to happen again because this is my life, this is who I am. Your subconscious mind says, yes, of course, this is who you are, this is what you will experience. Duh. It's not going to argue with you because it doesn't have any control or say so over who you are and what you get to experience other than what you tell it. It doesn't have any objections to anything that you say you are or anything that you say you can experience. It just says, okay, this is who we are, this is the programming, we're rolling with it. It's automatic. So instead of focusing on your failures, you take your failure and you use it as a lesson, as it should be. It's just something that happened in the past. Just because you failed in the past does not make you a failure. You don't attach to your self-concept, I am a failure because I failed once in the past, or because I failed 100 times, 1,000 times in the past. You say, I failed before. Let me take this information and use it to my advantage so that I can be successful in the future. And when I am successful, I'm going to focus on that successful attempt, and I'm going to recreate that experience instead of focusing on the failures before. And I'm going to continue to build on that positive reinforcement of me being in the right direction, me being on the right track, and build up that positive evidence of being the version of yourself that you want to be, of having that limitless, abundant, beautiful self-concept that allows you to receive all the wonderful things that you want to have in your life. You have to stop criticizing yourself. You have to stop harping on yourself. You have to stop complaining about the way you look, about the way that you've been, about your circumstances. All of these things are changeable. They are, no matter what you think, whether or not you believe this to be true right now, it is the truth. Everything in this experience is malleable, and it's all dependent on you. So if you're constantly criticizing yourself, if you're constantly nitpicking, if you're constantly looking for something more, another problem to fix, something to solve, other ways to be unsatisfied, even though you got what you want, you're still unsatisfied about it, this is never going to lead you to true fulfillment. You're never going to feel the wholeness and completeness of who you actually are until you come to that understanding that that's inherent. That's just baseline. That's duh. I'm the creator of my reality. I'm the operant power. Whatever I say goes. I always get what I want. If the situation is now, okay, noted. I'll change the story. The situation will change. Until you come to that awareness, you will continue to focus on the failures and you will continue to recreate it. You will continue to criticize yourself and you will continue to find more things to criticize. When your desire comes in, you're still going to find ways to be unhappy with it because you're unhappy within yourself. So, regardless of what's happening externally, the feeling of fulfillment of just being, of just existing, is enough to take you wherever you want to go. I'm so serious. I want to make this so incredibly clear. Just you being. Just being conscious. That is done. That has to be prerequisite. I'm conscious. Just I am. I exist. Great. Step number 1. I create my experience. It's created through me, through my identity, through my concept of myself. And so whatever I want, I can make my concept of self match whatever it is that I want. I can change the story of myself in relationship to that thing, and I can have that thing. It's just a done deal. It's just a matter of when I'll see it in physical reality, because all of these things are already possibilities. They're limitless, and I can choose any one that I want, as long as I think that I'm capable of choosing it, as long as I think that I'm capable of receiving it and maintaining it, as long as it matches the story of who I am. There's no limits to what I can have. There's no limits to what I can do. There's no limits to who I can be, because I get to decide all of that. It all comes through me. It all flows through me. So that is self-concept. That is self-image. Knowing your inherent value, knowing your capabilities, knowing that I am awareness of being, just existing, just being consciousness is enough. And then you get to put whatever you want on top of that. Sprinkle whatever, cherry on top, marshmallows, all the toppings. It's beautiful, it's wonderful, whatever you want. But remember that your reality and your internal mechanisms, your automatic success mechanism, your reticular activating system, your subconscious mind, all these things, they're just gonna say, okay. None of these mechanisms are gonna argue with you and be like, are you sure you don't think you're worthy and deserving? Okay, I'm gonna shove this experience into your face to make you believe that you're worthy and deserving. It's just gonna say, okay, no, we're not worthy and deserving. Even if the experience comes in, it can't exist here in this reality, so we're gonna kick it back out. Doesn't match the concept of self, can't exist in her reality. Just is how this experience works. It's an energetic transaction. It's you projecting onto this mirror reality, onto the screen. All comes from you. All comes from you. This has to hit home. You have to understand, because once you understand this, you're golden. And as much as I'm going into depth to explain to you the importance of getting over this hump, it's fairly simple. And a lot of people are already there and try to backtrack, and they're like, oh no, I need to work on my self-concept. I have more to do. Work. No, you already know about the work. If you're already good and you're not seeing issues and you feel fulfilled and you're sustaining your desires and you're enjoying what you're creating, then you're good. You've already done everything that needs to be done, which is really nothing. It's just the understanding and the recognition that you are who you say you are. That's literally it. So I hope that I explain this in a way that helps you understand that there's no journey, there's just a recognition, just the understanding of the version of you that you need to be in order to accept what you want. Because you can want things, but if you don't feel worthy, if you don't feel valuable enough, if you don't feel chosen or taken care of by your reality, then how do you expect to allow that experience to exist with you? It's gonna make you so uncomfortable, you will want to jump out of your skin. You're gonna be like, this doesn't match me, this isn't who I am, I'm not worthy of this, I'm not deserving, I can't have this. And so you won't. To close, I have a couple of quotes from cybernetics that I think really encompass this well and will hopefully help you understand this on a little bit more of a deeper level. And I just want you to sit and ponder on this a little bit and let the understanding and the knowing of this sink in. Yeah, we're just gonna read the quote. All right, here's the quote. It reads, "No real success or genuine happiness is possible until a person gains some degree of self-acceptance. The most miserable and tortured people in the world are those who are continually straining and striving to convince themselves and others that they are something other than what they basically are," which is I am awareness, that fully whole and complete, valuable, beautiful spark of divinity that we all are. Okay, next quote. And this one is amazing as well. "Changing your self-image does not mean changing yourself, but changing your own mental picture, your own estimation, conception, and realization of that self." Okay? You are perfect. And as much as it's such a weird thing to say, you are perfect in as much as there's nothing about you that could make you more or less than what you inherently at your core are, right? But we are all also constantly evolving and constantly growing, and we have things that other people might see as less than perfect, and things and places where we could grow, places we could be better. But that is the journey of life. That's the journey of evolving, and that's what we came here to do. That's what makes this so fun. And it's so fulfilling just to explore yourself and to really get to know yourself and accept yourself for who you are, and to understand that we ebb and flow, we come to new understandings, and it's a continual process. And it's just how we as human beings were built, made here to be. It's just how we work. It just is what it is. And the sooner that you accept that and accept yourself, the sooner that the things that you actually want and actually desire will come into you. Because being fulfilled within yourself means that you are fulfilled in any circumstance. And the things that you actually truly want and desire will magnetize to you so effortlessly. All right, you guys, that's gonna do it for me today. I really hope you guys enjoyed and got something of value from this video. Please be sure to leave your questions, comments, concerns in the comment box below, and check out the description for my social media links, services, all that good stuff is down below. And other than that, I love you all so much. Thank you for being here, and I will see you next time. Bye.